Welcome back to Gun Toy and Minutes Toy.
Good job, Arya. Today I have an optic sent out to the channel by Shepherd Optics. This is their 1:8 rugged. It is a mil configuration optic. I tell you what, there are a lot of specs to this optic that you can already read online, and what you can't get online is a first person's, hopefully objective view of if the optic is worth it or not. So I'm going to let you just click the link in the pinned comment to get to the website. You can check out the specs there. It has some really awesome specs, such as the fact that it has 50 mils of internal travel as it's advertised. It has red-green illumination, lots of things like that. I would rather focus on how does the optic perform. So first I'm going to show you some demonstration of shooting, then I'll get back to my opinions of the optic in all the ways that I like to shoot. It kind of feels like lately I only shoot when it's like 95 degrees out. And I'm in Minnesota, so that just feels wrong in every way. But at least it's not windy. Right now, I'm getting next to nothing where I'm at. Using this little Caldwell Wind Wizard, it's been decent. So far, it definitely gives me a good reference for where I'm at and possibly a better guess at downrange. But right now, it's next to nothing. When I stand up, it gives me about half a mile an hour, but it's really, really still. So hot and still is what I've got to work with. And I'm going to show some shooting with this Shepherd 1:8 mil configuration optic at, let's see, it's 300 yards from where I'm at right now. 150 grain, just, it's not match ammo at all. It's very much ball ammo, or it's just some FMJs, actually, factory seconds even. But the rifle shoots pretty decent, and the optic is absolutely going to help me get out there. So a little bit of tracking is needed for this, just for consistency from my previous data, and we'll see if I'm on target. Alright everybody, here's the reticle shot. Really nice clean reticle. Not overly busy for an LPVO, but it does have information in there, and I think it's all functional information. I'm a big fan of the way that they set this up, and my eye does not have trouble picking up anything in here that is information related. You will see that is a little bit unique. It's slightly different. You have 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. Instead of the even numbers, you have odd numbers in here. And so that is just unique. It's different. It's not bad. And I'm going to be honest with you, when I first looked at it, I thought, well, that might mess with me because I'm so used to even numbers. But the way that the reticle is set up, especially with that, it's not a horseshoe, but it's most of a circle there around the center, it just wasn't an issue. I was very quick to understand what I was looking at, and just where the third mill line is, it makes a lot of sense. It is a second focal plane, by the way, if you didn't pick that up, and so the reticle is going to stay the same, but I will just take you through magnification here. I'm sitting at 630 yards to my target, maybe 625 actually, and I'm going to back off to 1 power, and I'll go ahead and line up on a silhouette target here. A little hard for me to tell, but I think I'm in the ballpark. So there's the silhouette target, and I'm going to run through illumination and just see how my camera does with illumination here. So there's red, and that's red level 5. So I can see it on the camera. I think it's a little brighter in person. To my eye, it definitely seems brighter. And then it's just going to be more and more dim as I go through the reds. And then I'll go up to green here. And green, you know, it just doesn't pop quite as much on green foliage here. Yeah, I'm going to say the red stands out in contrast just a little better on days like today. The only parts that are illuminated, which I think this is so smart, is going to be that semicircle as well as the center cross there, and the rest of the reticle is not illuminated, so it's not going to bother you. I think this is a smart reticle design for that feature combination. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off now. And I will, let's see, get back to that target. We'll zoom up to 8 power here. Okay, that's 3 power. 3 power at 625 yards. There's 6 power. And here's 8 power. And that is what the reticle is made for. It's calibrated for 8 power. And this is where those holdovers, and they're technically not holdovers, they're mill lines. That's what the mills there are calibrated for, is 8 power in an optic like this. It does really, really nice work, I think, at this kind of distance especially. Now I'm going to go ahead and throw a few rounds downrange here with this 300 blackout on a fairly non-windy day, but it's just 150 grain, no match ammo with me today. Maybe I should zoom in just a little bit so you can get a better picture of what that's going to look like. At 625 yards, that's my image. You are seeing some mirage because it's very hot out today, and it looks like it's going straight up because there's not much for wind. It's a fairly still day other than a few gusts here and there. I have that silhouette, which is a full-size silhouette. I have a 2/3 size silhouette, and then I have, I think that's a 10 or a 12-inch target. It's probably a 12-inch pan there, and they should all move a little bit, and you'll be able to tell, hopefully, from this camera that I'm using right now in recording the reticle. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I have a kind of a new load that I've not tried yet, and for this one, I'm going to dial, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be close to about 14 mils. That should definitely put me in the territory of accuracy here. I'll throw one at, let's see, this group of clays there. I'll throw one at the clays, and hopefully it's close enough where I can start shooting on that steel. I am shooting from an awkward position. I'm actually not shouldered on the rifle itself. I'm holding it in kind of a funky way, but let's just get the excuses out of the way, and here we go. Yeah, it did seem like it was a little bit low there. I'm gonna go, actually I'll just go to the silhouette, and we'll see what happens. Just a little high. Definitely can spot those misses. I guess that's the positive missing there. The optic is enough power. I could see those misses even from my phone and not looking through the optic, but the image is way superior when my eye is looking through it compared to my camera. It's just never going to be comparable, really. So I've been testing this optic in low light now as the sun is going down, and I'm just shooting a 300 blackout with some really cheap 150 grain ammo, which I maybe need to do a separate video about this ammo company, but anyways, just shooting at it's 219 yards from right here. One target's like 12 inches and the other one is at least 14 inches, so not small targets, but I'm just kind of testing the illumination. How does it do at different settings with different light conditions, and then the clarity itself of the glass, and I'll be able to come back with some opinions probably after tonight and maybe just tell you guys what I think about this optic and its price point, and is it worth that money. Well, I've been able to put several hundred rounds through this optic today, probably more than I should have, really, but I'm really enjoying it. It's a good optic. I have to admit my bias. I am a pastor, I'm a shepherd, and I like the brand. I think it's cool. But 1 to 8 is a very practical range, guys. The 1 power on here is pretty darn good. I didn't get too much of kind of a fishbowl effect on the 1 power, and I definitely didn't get too much on the 8 power. I didn't think the eye box was really that touchy. It's my opinion, but as far as a 1 to 8 goes, you start running into higher and higher power. 1 to 4s, it's easy to make 1 to 4. 1 to 6, not too hard. 1 to 8, now it's starting to get a little more difficult to get depth of field and all these other things correct, just because I think there's a lot more going on in the scope, and you're magnifying more, and the glass quality, you're going to demand more out of the glass. So I would say this definitely is qualified as a 1 to 8. I probably wouldn't have it in a higher magnification scope for the glass quality and light collection. But again, remember, this doesn't have a big a bell on the end for collecting or grabbing a lot of light. It just has, kind of a standard LPVO shape. And I think the footprint is nice and small. One thing I probably would have done differently, just throwing this in there, the eye relief is decent, but I kind of put it on this cantilever, and I have this long stock on a rifle length buffer. I probably didn't need to go that far out with this Fab Defense stock. It's mostly set up for prone shooting, but I noticed when I was standing up and I was shooting on 1 power, I did kind of bring my neck in a little bit far forward. So I probably could have brought this back to a normal distance. Didn't need it to be cantilevered forward on the setup I have. Just running that rifle length buffer tube is a little bit more than I needed, but it was reliable. The tracking was reliable. Illumination was really good. I like that illumination. I think it was done smartly. And what they actually illuminated in there is the kind of stuff that I want to see illuminated when I shoot, about dusk or sundown. It's the portion that's not so much, and it doesn't go the whole tree down. That tends to be a lot, especially on an LPVO, in my opinion. And I'm not everybody. Some people might have a reason why that's really important to them. But for me, I like to dial. And when it gets really dark, I'm probably not going to be shooting that far anyways, so I don't need to dial. And I just mostly want that center crosshair and the horseshoe around it for speed and shooting it on 1 power, essentially. And it does a really nice job of illuminating level 5 on green or red on 1 power. Remember, it's a second focal plane, so the reticle technically stays the same size, but just the way that it looked to my eye, it was pretty comfortable. I think it did a good job. Overall, it's a decent optic. The people are going to get the most out of this or think this is a great value. Obviously, people who are into the maybe like the 3-gun community, the tactical community, people with black guns and ARs, AKs, that sort of thing, maybe 9mm carbines. That's another one we can throw in there nowadays. You would probably get a lot out of this, and especially folks who understand the benefit of having a unit of measurement like mils and having a reticle that is as good as this one. Something that is just really easy, it's quick, it's fast. Remember, it does odd numbers in there instead of even numbers, but for me that wasn't an issue. It just didn't bother me at all, and I found it to be a very useful reticle. The fact that I had 12 mils of functional reticle, especially with this, shooting it at 630 yards, that's right around what I needed for some of my loads, so that was cool. And I think with a 308, if you were to put this on a 308 gas gun, let's see, that would get you out to 800, 900 really, really well with most of those 7.62 51 loads. You would enjoy that. The glass is good enough that in low light, early morning, you're not going to be having a bunch of complaints. It was not a reason I missed anything today. If I missed anything, it was definitely ammo, for one. And then number two is just my skill set. So I wouldn't blame the optic. It wasn't tracking. I did test the tracking repeatedly, even though you didn't see it. I was shooting this at 1,000 yards just a little bit ago. And at 1,000 yards, that's a whole lot of dialing. And unfortunately, my ammo was not consistent enough with this upper to really show you that footage. It was just kind of a waste with that ammo. But I did notice when I went back and forth, that with the best ammo that I had, I only had 5 rounds of it. I went back and forth per shot just to see if, like, you know, whether point of impact would change dramatically. With the good ammo, it was pretty consistent. And so I think I need to do more testing in the future just to show you what this can do at extended long ranges with an LPVO. You've seen on my channel before, I take everything 1 to 4s, 1 to 6s, 1 to 8s, 1 to 10s. I take them out to sometimes 1,000 yards. They're very capable. People underestimate LPVOs, and this one's right in there with them. People don't realize that this can do the close stuff. It can do the 10-yard shots across the room. You can get down to 1 power, and like I said, it's very usable. And it can also do the stuff that's at hundreds of yards, hundreds and hundreds. 8 power is enough to spot my misses at 1,000 yards tonight, even with low light. I could see the dust cloud kick up to the sides, and it has been particularly dry in a lot of places in the country. That's probably part of it, but it does have to have good enough glass to do that. It does have to have a reticle that's not so busy that it covers up everything, and it's there. It's absolutely there. So even though it doesn't have a side parallax, it's capable to go a long ways, and I plan on showing you more of that in the future. I'm gonna wait for my next ammo shipment to come in, and this will be the guy that I do a little more testing with. But so far, so good. I can recommend it from what I've experienced with it so far. Like I said, several hundred rounds, and I don't see any flops. I don't see anything about it where I'd say, ooh, this optic missed it. It is a good LPVO. And I think most people who are in the market for an LPVO at this price point are going to say my purchase was a good purchase, and I'm happy and content with my optic. And so go ahead, check them out. They have other optics as well, and I'm really hoping to test those out, especially some that are actually designed to be a long-range optic and to be dialed on with really, really great reticles. That's one thing Shepherd does very well. Go check them out. They have cool optics that you're not going to find anywhere else. They're very unique, and they're doing some different things, shaking it up in the optics world. Not to mention, they just have a cool name, Shepherd Optics. Thanks, guys, for sending it out to the channel. Appreciate you very much. Look forward to doing more reviews of Shepherd Optics pretty soon, I think.